You're agnostic.
Yeah.
Okay. The question is there a creator or not? You're agnostic towards this question, meaning you don't have a firm answer. Yes or no? Is that correct?
Yeah, but it's like I'm pretty sure there isn't the same way.
So let's just say what it really is.
They say I don't know, and then they start bringing evidence against Islam. So
technically agnostic, but like in practice.
In practice, you're atheist.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you make the claim that there is no creator?
Yeah.
So this is a positive claim that you're making.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say technically agnostic. I can't actually make that claim.
Okay. So what proofs would you accept to accept that there is a creator?
I don't know. That's a difficult question to answer.
Pardon?
That's a difficult question to answer. I don't know.
So you would have to be like, you can't say there is no creator. Well, you don't understand what would be evidence for a creator. Because I believe you've already seen the evidence for the creator, but because you haven't actually digested it and reflected on it, you've just gone straight over it. I'll give you an example. See that bottle in your pocket?
Yeah.
I can make the certain claim that is a product of knowledge, power and intent. I haven't seen the maker, the one who made it.
Yeah.
But by the effects of it, I can infer that it's made by knowledge, power and intent. Okay, because of the complexity in it, the lid has a purpose, it holds a certain amount of water, it's got basic information on the outside, where it's sourced, how much mil of water it is, and so on and so forth. Based upon the information and the effects of purpose, I can say all of this is the handiwork of somebody with knowledge, power and intent.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can also see the same things in the universe, around the world around us. We can see that there's order. We can see that there's purpose. In our heart, for example, your heart has a purpose and a function, which is to pump blood. Your kidney has a purpose and a function, to pump blood. We can see in your DNA the information that is required is so detailed that it's not the same as, it's more complex than the actual information on the outside of that bottle. Okay, and we can see from the alternation of the night and the day that we can order our lives around it. All of this for us, really and truly, if you're asking me for proof in the creator, look around you and look into yourself.
Chaos in the universe.
Where is the chaos? Where is the chaos? Because you're talking chaos from a colloquial point of view. Meaning when I go into my teenage cousin's room, it's chaos in there. Yeah. It's a mess. But where is the chaos? Every single aspect of that room, whether he's got toast on the ceiling or whatever it is, jam sandwich stuck to the ceiling, whatever it is, but everything follows laws, mathematical laws. So from one point of view, that's chaos. Because when we're talking about chaos, we're talking about it should be nice, neat, prim and proper. But when we're talking from a natural point of view, if you're looking at it from that point of view, scientifically, that is all following order. And it's just chaos colloquially, okay?
Yeah.
So when we say to you, chaos in terms of, a meteor will come down and take away a whole country or something like that, that meteor follows mathematical laws, okay? That life follows all these laws, and so on and so forth. So chaos from the point of view is we don't want there to be a meteor come down and striking us, but all of these things would infer that there's a knowledgeable creator. That's not a barrier to believing there's a knowledgeable creator. And when we understand further the character of the knowledgeable creator, that he is merciful. So look, we can see around us, we're getting rain, we're getting oxygen, we're getting benefits from these things. That's the mercy. But we also see, exactly, so we can also see that he's the one who tests us, and he's also the one who is severe in punishment. Okay, so all of these things. Now we have a point of view to look at, because what you're going down to is how do we understand calamities and how do we understand suffering, the argument of suffering. Firstly, the suffering doesn't disprove, if I drink from this bottle, so I keep pointing to the bottle because it's the easiest thing. If I drink from that bottle and I die of poison, and I say, why am I dying of poison, this is evil, that doesn't mean that that's not made by knowledge. Do you understand? So the knowledge part of it, that's established without a doubt. Right. Is what we're doing that. You're talking about God being merciful. You're talking about God being merciful, but you're not talking about the knowledgeable part.
She's dying for someone.
Of God's knowledge.
She's dying.
On like what?
I can see it on the bottle, and I can see it within you. I can see it in the fly.
Are you Christian?
No.
No. So
There's many Christians out there. Go look for them.
The universe is not like a bottle.
it's more complex. It's more complex. Just the fly is more complex than a bottle.
Yeah.
Would you agree on that?
Yeah.
And the DNA within the fly is more complex than the information in the DNA on the fly. I'm proving a creator, and you want to come and look at that. So look. So basically, what I'm saying is that the DNA that's within the fly is more complex, and the information in that DNA is more complex than the information on the side of that bottle.
Yeah.
But yet we would never accept that bottle was just matter organized itself. But we can see clearly. That's why I said earlier, you've already seen it, but you just haven't processed it and digested it.
Well, so you can't apply the logic of a bottle, which is clearly designed, to the universe because it has structure and order. It also has a lot of chaos too.
No, again, chaos colloquially. It's not actual chaos. Because this chaos, like I said, if I drink poison or if I smash a bottle against the wall, I don't you think that's chaos. No, where the pressure hits and everything, all of this, it's only chaos because we have to clean up the glass afterwards. But if you really break it down, where the pressure hits would affect where everything's shattered, and all of it follows mathematical laws.
Subject to laws, yeah. But
Exactly.
still a chaotic outcome.
No, it's chaotic from a point of view of like I got to clean up the mess afterwards.
That's right.
Yeah, but that's not
chaos.
actual chaos. No, that's still ordered. If I throw a bottle against the wall, it's not going to turn into a frog. It's going to shatter into pieces based upon where the pressure hits. It's still following laws. Okay, when the river comes down the side of the mountain, okay, that's not chaos because I might drown in it. It's following. There's actually a law called the law of phi, or the law of phi, where mathematical number of phi, where those meandering of the river, how it bends, that's all mathematically ordered. Right. So what we can say is all of these things here. When you say chaos, it's not really chaos. It's chaos from the point of view of, again, like I said, a teenager's bedroom. In chaos that way, but not really chaos. That's not actual chaos. Everything is ordered.
With no laws.
Chaos would be not random with no kind of reasonable way to understand things. So for example, I throw a bottle against the wall, it becomes a frog. Or I throw a bottle against the wall and the bottle weighs made out of plastic and I throw it against a huge concrete wall and it destroys the concrete wall. That's
so lawless then.
Lawless, exactly. Now the fact that everything is laid out and naturally we instinctively can look at that bottle and see the purpose in it and see the effects of knowledge in it.
Yeah.
But I can do the same thing with the fly. I see the effects of
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I'll give you an example of you can't apply the logic in this world to the universe as a whole.
Yeah.
There can't be one thing in two places at once, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But with electrons, you can get the same electron.
You're talking about the double split experiment.
So it could be in two spots at once. That's what I'm saying.
No, you can't
necessarily trust your logic.
No, that's wrong. Do you know what a what's the word?
I don't know the detail.
There's a word on the actual thing. A which way detector is. Because you've invoked this experiment, and this experiment is often used to say, well, the world is chaos, and it's not just you've been told this by somebody else. They invoke this double split experiment to say that because of a double split experiment, it doesn't make sense to us. Now, therefore, let's throw our reason about that. Like when it comes to the creator, don't try and think reasonably. It could be anything. This double split experiment, there's a thing called a which way detector. Okay. Now, the idea is that whatever way we observe this double split experiment, it comes across as one time as a proton, as what's the word? As a wave or a proton, if I remember correctly. Okay, and they've invoked this, and they said based upon how we observe it, we can see that it's a wave and a proton, depending on where it is. But that is due to something in the experiment called a which way detector. It's meant to have no effect on the outcome, but the actual method they use to detect it has an effect on it. Now that's like going into the actual.
Is this the electron?
Yeah, double split experiment. Double split experiment. There's something that affects the outcome of it called a which way detector. So forget this. Go back to what you know, which is firm.
So it's bullshit.
This idea that that we observe it and that affects its outcome. So if we don't observe it, it's going to be a wave. But if we observe it, it's going to be a particle. So it knows what we're doing, and there's no chaos.
An electron can be in two spots at once.
How?
That's what I'm saying.
How?
I don't know how, but physicists.
Yeah, that's what they told. That's a religion then.
They're lying.
So you believe them?
I believe.
Have you got any proof?
They have. You have to get physicists.
Okay, so you sound religious right now. You sound like
No.
because I can bring somebody and he'll say my rabbi said X, Y, and Z. I don't know what he said if it's true. I just believe in him. So you sound very religious right now.
I see what you're saying, but I trust that they have evidence.
Okay.
It's not faith. Faith is
No.
you only go so
have
far,
faith.
and then you have to have a leap of faith.
You have faith.
Because there is no evidence.
No, you have faith. You don't know. You don't. No.
Can you trust someone you don't know?
Because you don't know the evidences.
Can you trust someone you don't know?
Yeah, you can.
Is that no, please?
No. You have faith because
If you don't know, you cannot trust someone.
You have faith.
You know him first.
Hang on. You have faith. There was actually an article that was put out the other day. I think it is
It's
something.
not faith. It's not the same thing.
No, you have faith. Absolutely faith. Because you don't know the
they can
proofs.
Blind faith, blind
You
faith.
have blind faith.
No, faith. Because faith is
They can produce all the evidence for that.
Yeah, but you haven't seen the evidence.
For that phenomenon.
you haven't seen it.
You haven't seen the
The
evidence.
difference between faith and what I'm saying is faith.
No, it's the same
can
thing.
talk about
blind
logic.
faith, blind faith.
Same thing. Go back to what you know. What you know is
There's no leap of faith there.
There is. Your leap of faith is you assume that what they're telling you is true.
Yeah, I'm assuming what's telling me is true.
Yeah, and you haven't investigated it for
But
yourself.
and I can go and investigate it and go all the way with religion.
But
There's always a leap of faith.
Hang on, but have
There's
you
a gap.
But have you done that yet?
No, I haven't done it.
But so right now you're talking from a position of blind faith.
Yeah, right now I'm assuming what they're saying is true.
So all I'm saying to you is I'm not gonna tell you what one experiment that I did in the room that I can verify and I can explain and so on and so forth. I'm saying something that you have naturally and instinctively you can see how that bottle is a product of knowledge.
This is my
natural.
point about the natural and instinctive. To me, it's natural and instinctive. One thing cannot be in two places at once. But they've done experiments and they've proven that
They haven't. Have they proved that to you? They've made the claim. You haven't investigated it.
Oh, come on, like it's like saying if I tell you the world is round, and you'll say, oh well, how do you know? Have you seen it?
Let's give an example. You've heard of the study. You've heard of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Okay. Big Bang Theory states that the universe began 13.7 billion years ago. They proved it using maths and using the cosmic microwave background observations and so on and so forth, mathematical equations and all of these things. Okay. Have you heard of the steady state theory?
No.
Steady state theory was the opposite to that, and the Big Bang model kind of debunked quote unquote that model according to in the eyes of the scientists. That steady state theory believed that the universe existed eternally. Okay, now that belief that was also proven by maths, proven by experimentation and observation and so on and so forth. Okay, so the proof of maths has proved it. Okay, it worked in both of them, but they were both mutually exclusive. So what I'm saying is you can't just accept something because prominent scientists have made a claim. You have
What should I go on?
what you can actually accept for yourself. And when we go back to it,
I could be wrong.
hang on. When it goes back to it, the scientific method itself is based upon observation, experimentation, and repeatability. Okay, the underpinning beliefs, the underpinning assumptions of the scientific method is that this universe is observable. Okay, and that this universe exists, is real. This universe is observable, and that we can explain these observations using reasons. They are rationally intelligible. So you can observe something and you can explain it to me, another rational agent. Now this only makes sense if the universe follows a rational order. And that's what we see. We see a process of cause and effect. We see all of these things within the universe. All of this is order. Okay. Now, when you say chaos, that's chaos colloquially. It's not chaos absolutely. Like there is no everything's just random. That's just a word. It's just a word. In what you know, and this is the reason why you put on a jacket, because you know it's still kind of winter. You know what it is. These are the things that are not so necessary that it's not something that we need to argue. Okay, you know instinctively that to see something as complex as that bottle that requires a knowledgeable creator, and it's a joke to say it's not. But then when we see the fly, which is more complex, you say, well, I'm confused. When the fly's even, just put it this way, with all of our technical ability, if we got every university with a blank check, each one had a blank check, X amount of money, all the universities, the most knowledgeable people with the most amount of finances, using all the biggest tech companies with the greatest power. These are three things that we look for: knowledge, power, intent. If all of the knowledge, power, intent that all of humans had together, we can't make one fly. We cannot make one fly. Yeah? But now what you're saying is that this fly came about with no knowledge, no power, and no intent, which is even more ridiculous than the bottle.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Trust your instincts. That's basically what you're saying.
And this is the premise of the scientific method.
If I trust my instincts now, I'll say the world is flat. You know what I mean? I have to go out and investigate. We know it's not.
I'll be honest. It's only from if you was to go by observation strictly, there's observations that can prove either way. Like why can I see? I'm not making a claim it's flat or not flat. This is not my aim. But I'm saying if it's based upon observation or it's based upon what you've been told. If it's based on what you've been told, you haven't done the observations yourself. There's observations I can show you right now that you can stand on Lake Michigan and you can see Chicago from the other side of Lake Michigan on a globe Earth that shouldn't happen. Okay. Now don't get into me that I'm saying this is not my claim, but I'm saying if we're boiling down to it, that let's go to the observations and let's not blind follow what other people say, because that's religion. Again, we're being attacked and say, oh, you just believe what your mullahs tell you or your imams tell you, whatever. We don't blind follow. In Islam, alhamdulillah, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Islam came to free the people from blind following. You free the people from blind following what your forefathers were upon. Think for yourselves. Look around you and you do your own analysis, that you can see the effects of a knowledgeable creator all around you. And in fact, what we say is that you was born upon a natural disposition, a natural state pointing you towards a creator, but your society has made you.
I would say that's a flaw, man. One of the many flaws.
But you agree that you have a natural disposition to believe in a creator?
Yeah.
You agree that, yeah? Now, when it comes to the so naturally we're pointing this way already. Naturally, we're not pointing this way to believe in a tree or believe. Naturally, there's something that tells us there's some supreme creator. Reasonably, rationally, just thinking about it, there must be a creator based upon that argument that I've given you.
It takes more belief to believe there's no God than there is a God.
Exactly. I've got to do more mental gymnastics to explain that bottle came about by matter organising itself, and I have to do even more mental gymnastics to explain the fly came about by itself.
Well, with the fly, I'd say evolution for the fly.
That's just a word they've given you.
When you say evolution, there is so many different creatures. There must have been a different particle for every creature to be created.
Different part. What do you mean?
So when you say the Big Bang, everything happened from one single particle.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said earlier, you disbelieve the fact that there can't be two particles in the same place, right?
Yeah.
That particle went to a human, to a dinosaur, to an ant. So that particle split up into so many different creatures. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you?
Yeah.
So the whole fact that the fly created itself is disbelief, because you believe that the Big Bang Theory happened from one small particle that created the world. So there must have been a different particle that created humans. There must have been a different particle that created flies. There must have been so many. Every creation on this planet has a different particle in that sense.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean.
No, you're saying that you believe the Earth started from one single particle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one particle can create one thing. Okay, so for example, a human has different symptoms and particles to a tree, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that one particle created all of this Earth, what created a human? I don't disagree that one particle created the Earth, but our conversation here is what created a human.
I'm not sure I'd agree with that. The one particle created the Earth, or Allah knows.
No, in a sense, bro, we believe the Big Bang Theory did happen.
No, as a Muslim, I believe what Allah mentions in the Quran,
of course.
and we were not witnesses to the creation. This is what we say.
No, of course.
We don't. This is speculation on their behalf.
You don't say Allah started the Big Bang.
Again, this Big Bang, this is speculation. First of all, none of us were witnesses. None of these scientists were witnesses. These are speculations based upon what we can see now, and we're going to try and investigate what it was before. So just let's not reject it just based upon it coming from scientists, but let's not also accept it just because it's coming from scientists. If it boils down to it, it is speculation. Nobody can deny that. It is speculation. Nobody was a witness to it. Okay? What we know and accept, and there are some things that kind of overlapping, and why we see a lot of Muslims, they kind of jump on this Big Bang Theory, because it does have an overlap with some things we do believe. But as for the baggage that is associated with that, I don't need any excess baggage. I'm firm and I'm confident to stand on my own square as a Muslim, that I believe what Allah mentions in the Quran, which is that we have a supreme, a creator, and this creator he's the one that alternates the night and the day, and we were not witnesses to the creation, and he informs us of it. As for the specifics and the details and the scientific of it, this is all conjecture first of all. There may be a lot of truth in it, there may be some falsehood in it, but best guess, if it's talking about 13.7 billion years ago using mathematical equations, this is all speculation. Because maths can prove, because irrespective, none of us were witnesses to it. And the maths that is used to it,
But the evidence is...
hang on, the maths that was used in it can also prove the maths elsewhere. Like I said, the maths in the steady state theory worked. The maths in the Big Bang model works. So just to give you an example,
the steady state's been debunked, then...
Yeah, it's been debunked from other things, but the maths work is the key point. That I can prove something using maths, and these things, they're not repeatable. You can't repeat the Big Bang, okay? But we can repeat certain other things and use mathematical equations to explain them, okay? Now when it comes to the maths in certain things, I could use the maths to prove something correctly and then bring it into reality, and it doesn't work. And I'll give you an example. We're going to go with, for example, we're going to start off here in central London. We're going to go 8 miles that way and come 6 miles back. Where would we be from our initial point? 8 miles east and then 6 miles west. We're going to be 2 miles, east of our initial point. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go 6 miles east and 8 miles west. We're going to be 2 miles west of our initial point. So we know now that 8 take away 6 is 2, and 6 take away 8 is -2. Okay, now we're going to see that it works in maths. It works in maths and it works in reality to a certain extent. Now let's apply that to another aspect of reality. You've got 8 apples, I take 6. How many apples do you have left? You have 6 apples, I take 8. How many apples do you have left? Exactly. So the maths can work in reality and work in a mathematical realm, but you can't apply that absolutely across the board. So the maths can be used and manipulated. So what I'm saying to you is this: go with what you know instinctively.
I got a nice video of him.
Go to exactly what you know instinctively. Your natural inclination is telling you to believe in a creator. Your intellect is not accepting that this bottle came around for no reason. So your intellect is pointing to the natural creator. And then the prophets and messengers, they're coming with a message and they're saying, hang on, you have certain tools that you had already. Use these tools and reflect on this message. This message tells you that you have one creator who provided you, who gave you a life, who gave you eyes, so be grateful to him.
You don't accept the evidence, basically.
No, we accept anything. We don't accept the conjecture. Any evidence that they bring is evidence. If it's actual evidence, repeatability.
You don't see it as evidence. If I bring you evidence of
if you bring evidence, that's evidence. Yeah. If it's definitive evidence, we accept it. In fact, when you're talking about scientific method, who's the one that came up with the scientific method? Ibn al-Haytham. No, it was one person. Ibn al-Haytham. There's many people use certain things that were like it, but who devised it and codified it was Ibn al-Haytham. Arab in Islamic Iraq, I think it was, or Spain. Egypt, yeah. So we've never had this problem of science and religion at loggerheads. In fact, the motivation for the Muslims previously to engage in science, which the West now benefits from, and we're not saying all science came from Islam or all science came from the Muslim, but it's been kind of hidden, the amount of
contribution.
Exactly. That's exactly contribution, exactly like you said. So that's been hidden. Yeah? But what was the motivating factor for the Muslims in the East and the Christians in the West later on, the likes of Newton and so on and so forth? It was to understand God's handiwork, how God acted in the creation. That was the motivating factor. And the assumption was that because God created it, there's order to it, and we just got to see how that order works. So this idea of saying we don't accept evidence, if it's real definitive evidence, we accept it. But if it's speculation and conjecture, I don't need to accept that. Because that's a religion.
How do you know the maths is speculation conjecture? I can put it to you. Have you studied the maths? No. Told you.
I'm not gonna believe it unless it's been established. Okay.
How do you know it hasn't been established?
I'm not debunking it. No. I'm not going to science and saying I debunk it based on science. I'm saying right now.
What are you debunking?
No, I'm not even debunking it. I'm just saying this is what it is. It is what it is. That there is speculation and conjecture.
How do you know if you have? Because you said to me,
hang on.
How do I know that is?
Because
as they say,
because Allah mentions in the Quran they were not witnesses to creation. Now, if we look at the scientific method, what is it? Observation, experimentation, and repeatability. Can we repeat the Big Bang? We can't. So therefore, we can only speculate and use certain things that we can observe to try and infer them and imply them back 13.7 billion years ago. Okay, that's what's happening. So once we understand that it's not the same type of science as seeing what chemical or what pill has an effect on a certain disease, or the same kind of science that we use to make an airplane or a car or a washing machine. That's the science we can do now and then. This is conjectural speculation science that goes back 13.7 billion years ago. What's going to happen in the future and stuff like that. All of this is conjectural science. Science is it's not the same as the hardcore absolute science why we fly in a plane, why we drive in a car, why we take certain medicines and stuff. This is the stuff you can demonstrate this in a lab, you can demonstrate this in reality, and it's empirical. It's not the same as conjectural. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so that's what we claim. Now, but going back to it, in terms of the belief in a creator, this belief is natural to you. This belief is in line with your reason, and this belief is basically the message of the prophets that we are upon and we accept it. Do you now, I'm going to ask you again, do you accept it that there's a creator now? So again, based upon what we've said, what would make you accept that there's a creator? And we're not talking about something that is specific to you, a clear proof, but isn't the evidence, look, isn't the evidence of that bottle proof for its maker?
Yeah, but the universe is not a bottle.
Okay, so it's more complex than a bottle.
It's different to a bottle.
No, is it more complex or less complex?
It's more complex, yeah.
Yeah. So would it require more knowledge to make a fly, or less knowledge to make a fly? Then make that bottle.
It's a forced equivalency.
Why?
Because a bottle has a purpose to it. You drink water out of it.
Yeah. So do the wings and the fly.
The universe has no purpose.
No, that's your religious belief. You should say I'm agnostic with that. I don't know yet, but you've said it has no purpose. Do the wings and a fly have a purpose?
They have yeah.
Do the eyes and a fly have a purpose?
They have a purpose.
Okay, so
the fly itself has no purpose.
That's your religious belief. That's your religious belief.
I think so.
Yeah, because you're making an absolute claim that it hasn't. What you should say is based upon my start point. I don't know.
It's like what's the purpose of the sky being blue? There's no purpose.
No.
It could be purple.
No. This is different. By you saying there is no purpose, you're making a definitive claim. What we can say is we don't know. The purpose, the reason, the wisdom behind it, we don't know. But we don't negate that there's a purpose. What you're saying is there is no purpose based upon the little knowledge I do have. You have to acknowledge firstly that we know relative.
It doesn't appear to me there's purpose, and that's a bad word.
Maybe you can say you don't know the purpose for it. But to say it has no purpose, this is where you're wrong. But you understand that the wing on the fly has a purpose, and the eyes of the fly have a purpose, the legs on the fly have a purpose.
Yeah. The fly, whether the fly lives or dies, I mean, who cares?
Yeah. So now we ask the question: does matter on its own understand purpose?
Matter.
Does matter, blind matter, organising itself, does it understand purpose?
No.
It doesn't. So how can we now have something that has a purpose in it? Because there's two options. That bottle is a product of knowledge or product of no knowledge. A product of intent, which implies purpose, or no intent, no purpose. The fact that we can see in the fly the effects of knowledge and the effects of purpose, and then you say that matter just organises itself to appear in a way of a fly through evolution or whatever word you want to invoke, okay, whatever deity you want to invoke, okay. Now you're just saying that the fly came about from matter organising itself, and there's blind matter just organising itself to appear designed and so on and so forth, but it has purpose in it. Matter, as you, by your own definition, by your own admission, matter does not understand purpose. So how can we now see purpose in things? How can your heart have a purpose? Your kidneys have a purpose, your eyebrows have a purpose. The sweat comes down your forehead and the eyebrows move around your eye.
Yeah, but my existence, my life, it has no purpose.
That's your belief. Because you believe in something.
Like the only aims are to survive and to reproduce, and that's it.
Hang on, based upon.
And then you say, what's the purpose of that? To keep it going. And
you do have a purpose, by the way. You do have a purpose, but you're not aware of it. And you're aware of the evidence for it, but you haven't actually digested it.
What would you say?
Your purpose is to worship your creator, but we'll get into that.
Why does that matter?
Because you don't believe in a creator, you're not going to understand that you have a purpose.
What?
And you need to understand first.
What's the purpose of the worship?
وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah said that He has not created jinn and mankind except that they worship Him. And this is what we submit to.
It's an end in itself to worship.
Huh?
The end is an end in itself.
The end of what we're saying is that our Creator created us. We are grateful for the bounties that He has given us, such as our life, such as our eyes, such as our hearing, such as our family, such as the warm clothing that we have, we're able to get that, such as the food that we eat. Okay, we're grateful for these things. Now we know who we're grateful to. You're saying we're grateful, but there's no gratitude to anyone else. There's no purpose in it. You're right now. I'll give a crazy example all the time, and you'll see. If a man, I don't know if I'm gonna use if a lion was to come now. I was gonna say if a man was to come shooting, but now's not the time to use these examples. If a lion was to come now and he was to start attacking, what would you do? You're either gonna try and fight it or you're gonna run. Why? Because you value what you have.
Yeah.
You're grateful for what you have.
Because it's in life's nature to want to keep living.
So you value what you have. It's precious to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give another example. You have eyes in your head that you're looking at me, you're responding using. Okay? If I give you £10 million, just one eye, would you give it to me? You've got two.
I know you're going to be thankful for that.
No. Forget that where I'm going. I just want to understand the reality. What's the reality? If I give you £10 million, just one eye, you got another one.
I wouldn't.
But you've got another one. You can still see.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you value. Just one eye is worth more to you than 10 million. Okay. So when you start thinking of it in this way, you've been blessed and you've been given 10 millions, millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds. In fact, if you had all of the wealth in the world and a person was to come and try and shoot you, you would give him everything in order to preserve your life. So your life is worth more to you than all of this whole world. Okay. Now what we're saying to you is the least. If I'm crossing a road and I see you walking as well, and I see a lorry coming, gone through a red light, and I step back and I pull you back as well and I save your life, what would you say to me? You'd say thank you. Okay, now what about the one who gave you your life in the first place?
If there was a God, would I thank God?
Exactly.
For the creation?
So,
well, I'm not so sure, seeing as the state of the world is, cancer, there's death, all this, life is super hard. It's not been easy recently.
This is the suffering. We're going to go into the suffering argument, yeah. But in terms of the belief in the Creator, would you acknowledge that what we're saying is rational? It's not something that is illogical and stupid and backwards. It's actually reasonable, but it's just not fashionable right now.
I'm not so sure because life is mostly suffering. What's there to be thankful for that?
Okay, we'll explain the suffering from our point of view. But like I said earlier, if I drink from this bottle and I get poisoned, and as I'm dying, I'm like, why did I drink from this bottle? It doesn't mean that the bottle's not made by a knowledgeable person. So the suffering argument is actually secondary to belief in a knowledgeable, powerful, willful creator. That's secondary. Would you acknowledge that? It's secondary, meaning the person who made this bottle, he could want me to suffer. He could be evil, but that doesn't affect that he has knowledge, power, and intent.
So my point is, why would you give thanks to the Creator who's happy to have all this suffering?
Hang on, if you don't believe in the Creator first, you of course you're not going to give thanks to him. So we need to understand.
But I'm saying, even if I did, why would I give thanks?
Let's just go into the suffering from a Islamic point of view. We believe now. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, will mention a tradition or a saying of our Prophet, and you can understand our kind of mentality when it comes to suffering for us. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said he was laughing at the situation of a believer. He said when something good befalls him, he says Alhamdulillah. When something bad befalls him, he says Alhamdulillah. We know that any hardship that a Muslim goes through, or a believer goes through, one who believes in God, is thankful for his Creator, any hardship that he goes through, if he's patient, he would be rewarded for the suffering, and we know that after the suffering comes twice the relief. If he's patient and knowing that this is going to come, he trusts in his Lord and knows this is going to come, he knows that the relief will come twice as much as the ease. Even to the extent of a thorn prick. If we were picked by a thorn in our hands and we started to bleed, even to that extent. Now, to understand this from our point of view, we believe that the one who dies in a drowning, the one who dies drowning is what's called a shaheed, a martyr, straight to paradise. The one who dies in a fire, martyr, straight to paradise. The one who dies with a wall collapsing him, such as like an earthquake, martyr, straight to paradise. The children of the non-Muslims, according to the difference of opinion, the children of the non-believers and non-believers, before they've reached the age of what's called balagha, which is like age of reasoning, okay, if they die, they will be with, according to one narration, Ibrahim alayhi salam, around under a tree with Ibrahim alayhi salam, Abraham, the Prophet Abraham. So now the only situation for us, if I see, and just to give another analogy, if I see a person cutting off a hand, would you say that this is good or bad?
Depends why he's cutting off the hand.
Exactly. You've got more wisdom than a person that would just say, hang on, it's always wrong. Because let's say there's a cancer in the hand. Okay, so to stop the spread of cancer, you would cut off that limb, or worst case scenario, you'd cut off that limb. Okay, black seed oil would have been better, but they cut off a hand. Yeah, so you understand the point that from one angle it appears bad, but if you step back and look at the bigger picture, it could be good. When you see a man shouting at a child, that looks bad, but he's saying to him, "Don't run in the road." That's actually good. And
the point is, there's a higher wisdom to all suffering.
Yes. So when we're looking at it from a materialist point of view,
worst kind of suffering.
Yes, absolutely. So when we're seeing it from a point of view, there is no afterlife, there is no creator, there is no wisdom in anything. You just see the kids suffering with cancer, or you see what happened in New Zealand. Was it Friday, innit? You see what happened in New Zealand on Friday, and you think there is no wisdom. What do we believe as Muslims? Let's just use that as an example. What do we believe as Muslims? If those people were sincere believers, and we believe, it seems they were, them being killed in a mosque in purification, sitting down ready to pray, that's a shaheed. So we can see even that evil situation, we can see good come from it.
So why then shouldn't I just do everyone a favour, get a machine gun, and just kill everyone here?
Because there's a difference. No, it doesn't. Because there is a way that God has commanded us to interact with people. Okay. Now, if you do violate that,
no, it'd be bad for me.
No,
everyone else would be a favour.
Yeah,
right?
there'll be evil in it, and there'll be injustice in it. But the long-term result, the bigger picture, is that after all of the reckoning, like, we don't believe Hitler will get away scot-free. He just committed suicide, he killed all those people, that's it, he get away scot-free. No, we believe that he will be held accountable, recompensed for what he did. So when we look at it, the big picture, we can see these things. And now going back to it, all the suffering. If a person dies from a stomach illness, shaheed. If a person dies of the plague, shaheed. Martyr. Shaheed means martyr. If a person dies, is murdered, defending his life, his property and so on and so forth, shaheed. If a person... so you can see now...
In that. I see like they're getting... A bad thing happens, then they get a reward or whatever, goes to heaven.
No. What I'm saying is, from the big picture, what you perceive as suffering, that is, if they're believers, it's not just absolutely. If they're believers and they're patient in that, eventually they'll go to paradise. So if you suffer now, when you get for example, a vaccine, that's a little bit of suffering there. But the long-term,
that still doesn't excuse the suffering. In fact, you go to paradise. Why not just not have the suffering and just go to paradise?
Because the suffering, firstly, is a test for us. We're tested. Now, if I was to say to you, if you used to sit an exam, for example, you're going to have to do revision, you're going to have to distinguish yourself. That's why you get a certificate at the end, because you've done something that distinguishes you from somebody else.
Yeah.
So this is what this life is. This is a test for us. And we can't just say we believe.
What's the point of the test?
The test is to see who's a true believer and who's a false one. Everyone can say we're believers.
Who cares? Why does God care?
This is a question that you don't even need to ask. If I ask you now, why did the man make that bottle, or why does the guy who made that bottle have his hair combed to the left or to the right? That doesn't matter. That's not the reason. You know that that's the product of knowledge. We know that we're a product of knowledge, and we've been given a test. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter why God's doing the test.
No. We know why he's giving the test. We know he's doing it to test us, to see who is the best in righteous deeds, to separate those who claim to be believing, we say we believe in God and so on and so forth, and from those who don't. The actions, because they say actions speak louder than words, okay? Anyone can say, we're good people, but when it gets put to the test, are you really a good person? You can say whatever you want. Do you understand that example, yeah? So you can say you're my friend, okay? And somebody else can say he's my friend. But when it comes down to my car broke down, I need you to come help me, da 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 da. You're like, oh, you know what, I'm playing PlayStation. Hang on, you just said I'm a friend though, okay? But a friend, when he's put to the test, he would come through in those difficult situations. He's now got to leave his house all the way from wherever he is. He's got to come out and help me jumpstart my car. For example, I'm just using bad examples, yeah? But this now shows you that the actions is what differentiates those from saying, yeah, I'm a believer, and those who say, I'm just, you know what I'm saying? It separates. So this test now is what Allah has given. This is the wisdom. Now there are certain things in the religion that we have that we don't know the wisdom for. But Allah, like for example, I don't need to know why pork is forbidden. We now know that it is due to the harmful effects through the science, but at the time 1,400 years ago when it was revealed, I don't need to know. God has said it, I believe it. But
so you'll do whatever God says, doesn't matter what he says?
Yes.
If he said, shoot this baby, you do it.
Because we know that God only commands you with good. This is the thing. God will only command. Why? Because from God's attributes is His Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
But it could be some wisdom by giving it.
Hang on. So
you could be baby Hitler.
Hang on. There's something in that can be analysed, but I just want to understand the basic principle. We know that God's commandments are in line with His wisdom, His mercy and His knowledge. So He's not going to command us with something that is against His wisdom, against His knowledge, against His mercy and so on and so forth.
How do we know God is like that anyway? How do we know God is not that way?
Because you're grateful for what you have already. And
but like say your parents can be horrible people. They created you.
No, they're the means for you to come to exist. They never created you.
But you know what I'm trying to say.
No, I know what you're saying, but it's wrong. Because if you died at birth, God forbid, obviously it's happened, but if you died, your parents couldn't put life back into you. If your parents wanted you to have blue eyes, they could have no power. They were the means, and they have all they had in reality, if it boils down to it, all they had other than the night of consummation, once that is in you, to kill, to abortion, okay, and really truly, the only what they really have is what color you're gonna buy the baby suit, blue or pink. This is not a choice to okay. So when we look at it and understand it, we can see that we are grateful. This is what it all boils down to. We have a creator and we are grateful to this creator for what he's given us. And the way we show gratitude is the way that he wants, not the way that we want. I'll give you an example. If you was to give a gift to your mother, okay, what team do you support?
I don't watch football.
Okay, what's your hobby? What do you like? What do you do?
I like music.
You like music. Does she like the same music you like?
Oh, my mum's dead.
Okay, Give me another example. Someone close friend of yours. This close friend, picture him in your head. Does he have the music? Does he like the music you like?
Yeah.
He probably does, innit? Okay, hang on, it's not working.
Just give it general.
What's your shoe size? 12.
No.
Marine guys behind you.
What's your shoe size? 12. What's your friend's shoe size?
How are you? You good?
6.
Okay, so now you want to give him a gift. Are you going to give him size 12s or size 6?
Size 6.
So here's what fits him, not what fits you. Alhamdulillah, we got there in the end, yeah. But so you're going to give him a gift of what he likes, what is good for him, not what is good for you. So now when it comes to our creator, am I going to give him what he wants or what I want? I want to be grateful for my creator. All I want to do is just say thank God. I want to be grateful to my creator. All I want to do is go to a place of worship once a week. But our creator has told us no, you submit to him because he's giving you these things. So if you truly love Allah, قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحببكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم. Brother, let me finish it and I'll tell you. Oh. So
Speak speed, we don't have time, man.
Please.
Allah says in the Quran, if you truly love Allah, then follow me and Allah will love you and forgive your sins. Okay? So this is how we show our love, the way Allah wants us to. The way our creator, Allah is the word for our creator in Arabic. So this is submission. Why? Because He's given us our life, He's given us our hearing, our seeing, everything we're grateful today. How old are you if you don't mind me asking?
24.
And in 24 years, you haven't starved to death. You've always had a roof over your head, I'm assuming. You haven't been out froze to death, okay? So you have bounties and blessings in your life that you are really grateful for, but yet you don't understand who we're grateful to. You just think they came around with no kind of asbab, no kind of cause and effect mechanism that you can see in place.
But what if I was...
Watch this. To give this example, we live in England, yeah? we go home, we turn the tap, and water comes out of it. Do you know how we drink the water from it? We don't even think twice. Do you know if you did not have that available? Do you know how hard life would be?
Yeah, a lot harder.
So there's a lot of cause and effect mechanisms that are in place for us to just go home and turn the tap and water comes out. But we don't think about them. We go to a shop and we get a tomato from Morocco. Most of them are from Morocco anyway, Tesco. We go and get a tomato and we just open it like that and just eat it like that. We don't realise what's the process that came out, that grew in the ground, that was traded, that was cultivated, that was brought to us, and so on and so forth. So all of these mechanisms, absolutely all of it, like as a whole, we're grateful to the Creator. But at the same time, it doesn't negate that there are partial causes. So like for example, your mother and your father bringing you into existence. So that's why in Islam, the person we honour the most is our mother, then our mother, then our mother, and then our father. And likewise, if you used to go to a person's house and they fed you, you're not just going to thank God alone. You thank God because He's the absolute creator, but you're also going to say thank you to the one who gave you the food. So we understand all of these mechanisms, but it seems...
You didn't explain the wisdom behind the suffering. You said they go to paradise. If say, there's people who were shot the other day. So
there is, from the wisdoms that we see, the ones that are left over in this world after seeing that, the wisdoms that we see is that that invokes a sense of mercy in us. So we now know we can see the preciousness of life. So we now know that we need to defend life, that we need to stop hatred, we need to stop like...
So your argument would be God, in that instance, allowed 50 people to die to let everyone else know. Absolutely. It's not just them specifically, this goes on all the time. You value life, and I don't want to get too personal. That's a cruel way to teach that lesson?
No, because those people go to paradise if they're believers, and we would see that and we would take benefit from that, and we would understand the value of life. Allah says in the Quran, if you killed one life, it is unjustly, it is as if you killed the whole of mankind. And if you save one life, it is as if you saved the whole of mankind. And then when these things happen, we can see sadness in it. It's not all good. There is an element of evil to it, but that's on behalf of the person, the gunman in this example. Okay, we can see the evil that he does, but overall we have faith to see that, hang on, there is wisdom in that. Those people go to paradise, inshallah. They're considered as martyrs in the greatest paradise, and whenever we ask about their suffering, they will say that was like a half a day. That was like our life in this world was like a half a day. You can't even just bury a memory.
Also, the point here is that these just amongst the human beings. What was the creator? In order for us to understand what this is occurring, you have to understand what was the reason for creating the creation. If you don't understand that foundation, therefore you will misunderstand the rest. For you have to understand there's a reason behind it. And as the brother mentioned, when it's evil is it's evil from one angle, from us it's evil, but with God it's purely good. Why? Because there's nothing comes from God except good. So now let me ask you, how do you know what is evil?
Innate.
No, but how?
I know.
Because there is what the opposite.
Empathy. Yeah.
No, because it's the opposite.
Because it's good.
If there is no one shot, everyone stole, you will never know what is shot.
No, but I can imagine living in a world where there's no good, everything is evil. I would know it's evil.
No, you don't. I'm telling you.
If I went to a war zone,
it'd be normal.
It'd be normal. It'd be normal.
You benefit from the. You know what a good day is. A good day is when the sun's shining and stuff. You can't see that if every day is cold or if every day was sunny.
So just one thing. No. Okay. If everyone is tall, everyone was created tall.
Yeah.
Would you ever come to know what is short?
No.
See, that's my point. In order for you to know what is short, it has to be the opposite of tall. And one of the wisdom of evil occurring for the creator show that is a powerful, that he can create something and create the opposite to it. Understand? Likewise, as the brother mentioned, in order for us to reflect and likewise to expose the people, sometimes the test, not sometimes, all the time expose people. For example, you have a friend, always say, I care about you, I love you, I do everything. Because there's no hardship you are going through to know if he's speaking the truth or not. But when the hardship comes, then you come to know it. You understand? So there's many wisdoms. Of course, what you have to understand that the wisdom of the Creator is beyond our understanding.
Yeah. So some we get and some we don't get. Yeah. Some we get and we can see the wisdom clearly in it. So for example,
Why doesn't he explain it?
No, he explains some, but
Why
again,
not all?
hang on, we have limited minds, so we can't understand everything. We can't understand the wisdom for everything. By our very nature, we have a limited mind. Okay?
So from my perspective, that just sounds like there's some stuff going on which doesn't seem to make any logical sense.
Again, there's a difference between something that is
of that.
there's a difference between something that is against reason and something that is beyond reason. I'll give you two examples. Yeah, you said you're size 12. Yeah, and you now we're gonna analyze this statement. Your name was, sorry, what's your name? Dominic. Dominic's shoe size is size 11. Based upon your knowledge, you know that's either true or false. So what is it? True or false? It's false. Okay. Now my name is Anwar. So Anwar's shoe size is size 9. Is that true or false?
That's true.
No. It's
What did you say?
Anwar's shoe size is Anwar's shoe size is size 9.
Yeah.
True or false? Without looking. This is the point. It's beyond your knowledge. So one, you know it's wrong because it contradicts your knowledge. The other one, you don't know if it's wrong or right because it's beyond your knowledge. There's a difference between beyond your knowledge and against your knowledge. Yeah. So there's some things that are beyond our knowledge. We don't understand the fullness of. Let's just give an example that some of our classical scholars mention. Can you enumerate the stars? Can you enumerate? Do you know how many stars there are? To the detail. Can you enumerate the leaves on the trees? Can you enumerate the fish in the sea?
Well, I mean, you could if you really want to.
You can't. Because every time you get to the last one, there'll be another one. No, because every time you get to the last one that you found on this tree, there'll be another one growing somewhere else. So you can't do it. Can you enumerate the hairs on your head? You can't really, because every time you get to the end, there's another one that just grew, and there's so many fine details. It can't be done. So what I'm saying is, you can't have this comprehensive.
So many follicles.
Exactly. So you can't have this comprehensive knowledge, literally about the hairs in your own head, and literally about the trees that you can see. What about?
You can count the hairs. There are only a certain number.
What, to the exact one? To the exact one. To the exact one. But you don't know if that follicle is full or not.
You'll see if there's a hair coming out of it.
Yeah, but by the time that one you've counted it, there's another one that grows. This is how quick the hair grows.
Your hair follicles don't.
Okay, you're getting caught on a tangent. You can't count the trees. Yeah, you can't really and truly. I don't know anybody that's counted their head, their hairs on their heads. So my point is this, is that we can't have a full comprehensive knowledge about that which is around us. So how can we have a full comprehensive knowledge about the Creator? We can have a partial knowledge and understanding of it. We can't know the fullness of it. So this is the point, that based upon what we can understand, this is what our Creator wants from us. He wants us to be grateful to Him and give Him His rights, and then also the rights to those secondary, the rights to those on a horizontal level around us, starting with the mother, then the mother, then the mother, then the father, and then the closest people around you, like that. That's how the rights go. Okay. So when we understand this, we can see that there's a full system that we have in place, and we follow this. It's all guidance. Some of the guidance we understand, some of the guidance we don't understand. You've seen, for example, in Mecca, we go, you know, Mecca in Saudi Arabia, we go around. You've seen the black cube, the Kaaba, yeah. So we go around that 7 times. Why 7? Why not 6? God says it, we submit to it. Like this, your close friend tells you to come to his house. When you come in, I beg you just take off your shoes and put them there. Hang on. Do you go into his house and say, hang on, why did you tell me to put them there? Why did you tell me to put them there? No, that's the rules of his house. It's his house. Just submit. Yeah.
Don't think. Okay.
No, it's not. Don't think, because this is in line with your reason. It's not beyond. Sorry, it's beyond, not against. It's not against your reason to believe that this bottle has a Creator, but it's beyond your reason to know what's the name of the guy who made it, or what his shoe said. That's beyond your knowledge. It's different to against your knowledge. So there are some things in Islam that are beyond our comprehension. We don't understand what paradise will look like. Why? Because we have a finite mind. Okay, we only see it in a certain amount of colours. We don't know what that would be like in paradise. But we have basic descriptions that will give us a general idea. Yeah. So do you understand?
I hear what you're saying, but
it boils down to belief in the Creator. If you don't understand that bit and you can't grasp that bit, everything else will not follow. Because this is the foundation. So again, we're making the simple claim that bottle is less complex than a fly, and we can't make a fly with all of our knowledge, all all of our power, all of our intent. If you were to say that bottle came about with no knowledge, no power within, that would be ridiculous, absurd. Yet you obligate it to say for the fly. It's obligatory to believe that it came about with no knowledge. If you don't believe in the Creator, Allah mentions in the Quran, "Am khuluqu min ghayri shay'in, am humul khaliqun, am khalaqa as-samawati wal ard bal la yuqinun." Did mankind, and focus on this ayah, focus on this verse, did mankind come from nothing, or did He create Himself, or did He create the heavens and the earth? Those who disbelieve have no firm belief. So if you don't believe in this Creator, there is no firm belief that you're coming with. It's just speculation, conjecture. I can explain that bottle coming around through a number of mental gymnastics, but it won't give a satisfactory answer. And that's the same thing with the fly. I can explain it through this and this and evolution, but you can't explain how the first life came from non-life. You can't explain these things. Okay, so you can give some sort of explanation, but what's the power of that explanation? Does it satisfy, or is it only because you're doing everything to believe in a Creator that you're going to explain it in a materialistic way only? Do you see the point?
Yeah, your whole thing falls down.
So and we're giving you evidences for God, and you've already seen them. I haven't shown you something you haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't. And it's the same with the bottle. Can I argue? Can I argue for the sake of it? Can I put?
Is this guy filming you?
This is on me. Yeah, he doesn't want to be filmed. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. If you're on the light, but not in the camera. So, if I really wanted to, if I have a religious belief, let's say a religious belief that I don't believe that this bottle was made by a human, okay, can I explain it materialistically? I'll say, well, the plastic got heated and ink fell on it, and it. Could you explain that way? It wouldn't be
that is
that this bottle came about.
Yeah, right.
You can't explain it that way. No, you can, but it would be very ridiculous. Yeah, but I can attempt to, can't I?
Try it.
Yeah, but it's not going to be very convincing. So this is what's happening. People are attempting to explain how the fly came about using mental gymnastics, invoking things that we can't see, and how did the first life come in? We don't know. But when it goes back to it, that fly is more complex than this bottle. And I keep mentioning this because it's an easy thing to understand, and you can see the contrast. That fly is more complex and requires more knowledge and more a greater power and greater wisdom to make this bottle, to that fly to make this bottle. Now we can absolutely understand that so easily, so basic.
Why are they designed false then?
How? But hang on, firstly,
Your prostate never stops growing.
I don't know about that. I don't know about
It never stops growing. So middle-aged men, they become more and more incontinent. Prostate just goes to the toilet. Their prostate just never stops growing.
Allah knows best on that. There's certain things I need to look into what is the medical thing, and is there things that are in our life that can cure that? Is there certain actions that we do that cure that? And maybe that's like saying basically if you was to eat a certain food that would poison you. Is that a design fault? No. There may be actions that we can do to avoid that. There may be actions that we can do to kind of get around that. Something that we can do to avoid, or something that we can
Can't get around it. It's just part of aging.
So everyone becomes incontinent.
Well, they don't become incontinent. The prostate just keeps on growing.
If again, mankind, we are not perfect. Our Creator made us with imperfections. From the imperfections that we have within us, we're not angels.
I thought you assumed you made man.
No.
Designed a man.
No. So God is perfect. Mankind, the perfection is only for God. Okay. From the bounties of paradise, we believe is that there is no defecation or urinate. We don't need to defecate or urinate. That's actually from the imperfections that we have in this world that will be removed from us in the next world. Okay, this is an actual belief. So we understand that we're very understanding of these imperfections that we have, and there are actually laws around it. So if a man has incontinence, for example, there's a way that he can pray, because you can't pray unless you purify yourself. But a person with incontinence, there's actually laws around that. So we understand these imperfections, but we're talking as it relates to God. These imperfections are not a barrier to believe that you have a knowledgeable Creator. Do you understand that?
I'm going to give you a gift that you can read it. It's very summary, explain what Islam. You can take it.
Yeah.
You can study it, look into it, brother. Understand? So there's one thing I want to explain as well. That as a Muslims, we have to understand that because we have solid, tangible proofs and evidences that we can establish that Islam is the truth and Allah is the Creator. So therefore, whoever comes after it, even though we cannot comprehend it completely, but we know God is the most wise. For example, I mentioned this example, I don't know, I hope they mentioned it before me.
You use my example, I'm using yours, don't worry.
Watch this, yeah. Sometimes a person have a problem with a headache or problem in his heart or something. You go to a doctor, and the doctor will give you a medication that if you put it in a place, I don't mention the place, in a place you think, what that place has to do with my disease or my sickness? But you do trust him because you already established this man is an expert and is a doctor. Even though the medication he has given you doesn't make any sense to you. But here does not go against the intellect. Why? Because we already established the doctor, he has more knowledge and is an expert in that field, let alone the creator, the all-knowing. Is that clear? Makes sense? That's what we come to. And also there's many ways to prove Islam is the truth. For example, what's your name? Sorry for your name.
Dominic.
Huh? Dominic. Yeah. What we say to you from another angle, we can establish there's a creator, then there's the prophets and the messengers. I don't speak about Jesus, Moses, but how a man that lived in the middle of the desert 1400 years ago, prophesizing specifically, precisely, in detail about the future. How? If he was just a normal man, bear in mind he never studied, he never went to Oxford University, he never went to Harvard University, man that was a shepherd, meaning that may Allah blessings be upon him. He came with these prophecies. He said, for example, or before, let me ask you, who knows the future in details? Who knows the future in details?
Dr. Martin Luther King.
No, he doesn't know. In details.
You don't know.
No one knows. Yeah, maybe there's in details. Yeah, people maybe prediction is not knowing details. Because prediction, I can predict about, meaning now I analyze Russia's power, America's power. I'm a personal expert in that field. I can predict. That is not the same as the prophecies. Prophecies, for example, Prophet Muhammad is one of the best example. When he was in his time 1400 years ago, the Arabs were not known to build tall buildings. There was not from their nature. From those who know to build tall buildings, the Arab, the Persians, the Romans, the Greeks. So at the time of Prophet Muhammad, there was no any indication to indicate the Arabs will start competing in building tall buildings. Prophet Muhammad said there will come a time, not only see everyone, when you see the barefoot Arab man competing in building tall buildings. Let me ask you, where is the tallest building in the world? Dubai? Dubai, yeah. You can check it. Google it. Dubai, the Burj Khalifa, the tallest.
It's not very impressive.
Okay, so now, 1400 years ago, people had nowhere. They were shepherded, they were isolated in a place, specifically, precisely. Give me another prophecy better than this.
Well, the tall building.
Yeah, because what you have to understand, there was not any indication to indicate that. There was nothing. The Arabs, if you study the history,
You can just imagine man building tall buildings.
no, you cannot imagine that. Especially people that they even have sandals.
But if you can imagine a multi-story building, you can imagine just keep stacking the stories.
Just like an example you're telling me, no one, back in the days when the scientists used to say certain things, people they used to think they are crazy people. Because why? Because there was, if you allow me to speak, because there was no any indication to indicate what they were saying. Bear in mind they were experts in that field, they were scientists. Prophet Muhammad was not meaning that he never studied, as I've mentioned, universities, he prophesied. But I will mention something which is more detailed about cars. Cars, yes. Prophet Muhammad, go like that. You're too cold, bro. Prophet Muhammad said there come a time when the Arabs, because you have to understand, Arabs, they riding beast is a camel.
Yeah.
If they're not using a camel anymore, they have to use something else. Prophet Muhammad said there come a time when the Muslims, or this Ummah, or more specifically the Arabs, they will stop using the camels as a riding beast and will use a box. Okay? They will use of course, what people expect Prophet Muhammad to call it cars. Come on, man. There was no name called carrots there. Anyway, okay? But he said so.
You can imagine a horseless carriage.
No, but it's a carriage. A carriage, and the word was a carriage. For some people, it's a carriage, yeah. It's a carriage that he moved by itself.
Yeah, but anyone can imagine.
Anyway, so why no one mentioned it?
I'm sure some people did predict in the future.
No, about the cars. Talking about, not in there talking about something else.
What we're talking about, Muhammad? Come on, man. Come on.
Bro, sell him
Martin
again.
Luther King did that.
Bro, come on, please. Martin Luther King.
Didn't he do it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know Martin Luther King?
I know Martin Luther King.
And he didn't predict that black people, Obama was going to become
He mentioned Obama.
president.
He mentioned Obama.
Yeah, President Obama.
He said Obama.
Obama, yes.
He said Obama.
Obama. He didn't say that, but he said a black.
It's obvious. It's obvious based upon history. Don't worry.
It's obvious.
I'm saying someone living in that time could have looked at a horse-drawn carriage and been like, in the future, maybe this thing
I don't know.
itself.
Come on, man. This is no. Be honest with yourself. And I really
Carriage.
to go.
Car. Come on.
That's why I said, bro, Sunday mentioned that. How we knew that?
Carriage. You said he says carriage.
Bro, Sunday mentioned carriage.
Right.
Same carriage.
And then it comes from carriage, comes car.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. And
Bro,
he said the carriage was drawn by
By who?
by something. Right.
By who? We're going to debate each other.
Come on.
I have to go. It's too cold in my life. Anyway, take care.